have another special guest. Is going to come up.
Right, everyone, you okay? Just get up the PowerPoint. I just want to say thank you very much. It's been an amazing day, and to hear everybody's input, and it's very empowering. I've been asked to be a guest speaker today. I won't be too long because I understand that. But I'd like to start by saying my name's Joseph Roberts, and I'm a spoken word artist. I'm 19. And I'm just going to talk about my journey on how I started and the position I'm in today. I'd like to begin with a definition of a word. It's called be. So be means to exist. There are no easy answers. So when we say, when we leave school, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a mechanic, what you're really saying is I want to exist as a doctor, I want to exist as a mechanic. And that's very committed to that endeavour. There's a quote by a poet, her name's Amanda Gorman, and she performed at the president's inauguration a few years ago. And the end of her poem, she says, "For there is always light if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it." So I thought I'd like to include on that. And everything starts with us and us doing what we want to do, being who we want to be. So I started in 2019 when I performed in my school assembly. I went to Archbishop Beck School. I was 16 there, and I performed for the Year 9 assembly. And I performed one of my first ever poems I wrote. It's called Be, and it's about like being who we want to be. And I performed that, and I went away and I got a taste of what it was like to perform. So I went to the Chester Literature Festival in 2019, and I went to go and see a poet called Benjamin Zephaniah. I think he plays Moses in Peaky Blinders as well, but he's an amazing poet. And he signed my book, and he said, "Hey Joe, stay true, stay creative." And he signed my book, and I got a picture of him when I was 16. And I had a taste of poetry, and I really wanted to do something with it. So I went away and I started my own YouTube channel and I started making videos. So there's a few of them there, and I've been commissioned. So I was commissioned by Writing on the Wall and Liverpool City Council, and I wrote a piece called X and Y to tackle knife crime, meaning when X happens, we have to ask ourselves why, and that is like it captures everything. So I wrote that. And then I now went into schools. So how it started was I was performing. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's an entrepreneurial book, and it said entrepreneurs work for free. So I went into schools for free, and I performed for free. And then one day I got an email from a school and it said, "Hey Joe, we heard you on the radio. We'd like you to come into our school. How much do you charge?" And then one day it just like the penny dropped, and I realised not only can I do my passion, but I can potentially make a living from this, and there's something to this. So I've worked with Everton in the community. I've been in primary schools, secondary schools. But this particular poem, VIP, I recorded it in the M&S Bank Arena, the Echo Arena. And it was basically called VIP, so it's about a very important person. And I talked about the seats in an arena and where we sit and how we're all VIPs. And that got nominated for an award, and it was the UK's Best Spoken Word Newcomer. And I ended up winning that award. And then I was invited, thank you. And then I was invited to go on a show called Sport in Words, and it was on BT Sport. And I performed a poem about John Barnes, the Liverpool legend John Barnes, and it was for Black History Month. So they commissioned 12 or 13 poets to write a poem about a particular athlete. And I wrote about being from Liverpool. I wrote about John Barnes. So I went down to London. I performed on BT Sport, and it was amazing. And the fella who was the host of the show just so happened to be Benjamin Zephaniah, who signed my book all those years ago. And I went to him afterwards and I showed him that picture and I said, "Do you remember me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can't believe I I can't believe that. You went from seeing me to now you've called my name up on stage, and you couldn't believe it. So that was, and I met like-minded people. I met loads of other poets just like me, because I can only talk on my experience, and where I'm from, in Liverpool, not many people write poems. And when I'm in secondary school, everyone's just fighting or playing football and all these things. But I liked writing poems, but I never let that stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And the moment you do what you love, the moment you be who you want to be, the moment you exist how you want to exist, everything just falls into fruition. And you meet people like you. And these are people that I've got for life. And that was my story on how I went from performing in assembly to performing on telly in less than 3 years. So I've turned my passion into a business, and I want you to know. And I think that this is a way for change. I heard the lad earlier today, I don't know if he's still here, and he talked about that community garden. Entrepreneurship, this is my bit now. I think entrepreneurship is something where we can make change. And that is the practicality. That is what it is in a nutshell. That's what I think anyway. So I think more things like that, like the community garden, and people getting behind young people to be able to act on their ideas and bring things into existence. So I started my own website, and now I get bookings and commissions. And but I wanted to talk about habits. So just very quickly, so there's 4 stages of habit formation. It's in a book called The Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he says basically the 4 habits are noticing, wanting, doing, and liking. So let's say I had a cup of coffee. So I had a cup of coffee in my hand. So first of all, I've got to notice it. It's got to be in my existence in order for me to drink that cup of coffee. Then I've got to want to do it. Okay? Then I've got to actually do the action. And then I've got to like the coffee in order to repeat the process. Now, if you were to replace coffee with playing football, singing, writing poems, anything you like, it all starts with habits and forming positive habits. Last rule I wanted to mention was 1% rule. Just be bettering yourself by 1% every day. So by bettering yourself, it's all about compound interest. So like in finance, your 1% will compound every day, and it'll compound and you'll get better each day. So, but improving 1% per day is not a goal. It is a mindset, a way to reinforce the importance of consistency over any one day's efforts. So whether that be when I was in open mics, going to schools, doing all these things compounded up. So then I was able to do PT Sport and other things like that. So I want us to embrace this idea as a community, being who we want to be, and all those things, entrepreneurship, praising it, and that's how we can develop and move forward in a better society. So I wanted to finish on a poem. It was by Whitepass. I was commissioned by Whitepass to write a poem called Think Again. So I'm going to finish on this poem, and I just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for a brilliant day. So this is the poem, Think Again. I don't think we think enough. And if you don't think that we don't think enough, then I highly recommend that you think again. See, I think about the bully just as much as the victim. Because what sort of past must they have had to have so much hate in them? I think about the messenger just as much as the message they're sending. I think about friends, how many real, how many pretending. I think about an individual, who they are now, who they were back then. I think about influencers and what influenced them. I think about lampposts and whether they'll ever be bright enough on the streets to guide those home in desperate need. I think about phones, how many rang that never got picked up, or those that get approached by vans and then get picked up. I often think when I see gangs with hoods up, what is the reason behind why they cover up? And it ain't because of the rain due to the sun out. Parents don't know what takes place when their son is out. Parental guidance is vital to a child's upbringing, see. Yet what the youth witness on the streets ain't PG. I think about voices, how many won't get heard. The youth is the future, our hope, yet don't get the support they deserve. I think about the value of speed in the world. If I ordered a pizza and called for an ambulance, what would arrive first? See, I think about the punch before it was thrown. Was the punch in them? Were they punched at home? Consuming is more than just food on your fork. It's what you watch and listen. Lower order needs unsecured. It's the trauma, abuse over the course of years you've endured that affects your mood and your thoughts, the fuel you use that's been stored, the words you choose and you talk. You must dig deep to find the cause of the rooted truth of you that shoots up into a store. So I think about people and where we were all born, the quality of the soil. Did anyone care to water them at all? See, it's nature-nurture. It's hard to determine. It's Albert Bandura, vicarious learning. Google the Bobo doll experiment and you'll understand what I'm saying. How we copy each other's behaviours that are being displayed. See, everyone is a victim to something. No one is to blame. Because if it's positively reinforced, then of course we do the same. And if that's their norm and that's all they've ever saw, then there's no wonder why it's hard for so many of us to change. My mum says it best. Smother them with love and kill them with kindness. If you put water inside the bucket, there can only be water inside the bucket. So if we put love inside each other, there can only be love inside one another, because Jack and Jill went up the hill to catch a pail of water. Collaboration is the key. Because if Jack went up on his own and Jill stood watching down below, that isn't exactly what you'd call a team. My friend who coaches basketball told me team stands for together, everyone achieves more. Therefore, we have to take a handle each other's needs. Not only can we carry more, but we can carry more with speed. So I'm asking you to reach out to a service. There's someone for everyone. Pass on the ball. Pass on your thoughts, man. Pass it on to anyone. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? I'm just happy to have a glass because other people's glass have smashed. Consuming is more than just food on your fork. It's what you watch and listen. Lower order needs unsecured. It's the trauma, abuse over the course of years you've endured that affects your mood and your thoughts, the fuel you use that's been stored, the words you choose and you talk. You must dig deep to find the cause of the rooted truth of you that shoots up into a store. Because I don't think we think enough. And if you don't think that we don't think enough, then I highly recommend that you think again.